Well, hey. I think they're talking about suing Inslee, and so it'll be a really good thing. How many people are excited about that?
Yes, you are.
I'm sorry. Are you excited about that? Non-essential is right. Thanks a lot for coming out to the Inslee rally. We're going to start things out with Steve Pigeon. He's the attorney that's handling this lawsuit. One of the smartest guys I've ever known. One of these lawyers that I think has the guts to be the tip of the spear and willing to stand up for the people. I'm just so impressed that Steve Pigeon put together an amazing brief. I had a chance to read it last night, and it's just absolutely amazing. So wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the plaintiffs, and we're going to hear from them. But we're going to start out with Steve, and he's going to talk about a little bit about the lawsuit. So we'll start with Steve. Can we hear it from Steve?
Yeah, Steven. Yeah, buddy.
All you, baby.
Well, this lawsuit that we're bringing is going to be brought before the Supreme Court on original jurisdiction, seeking a writ of mandamus requiring the governor to rescind his stay safe, stay home order.
Just read it. Start with that and then talk about it.
Now, in our introduction, we begin the lawsuit thusly. A dark fear has overcome many Washingtonians as they watch their businesses, their finances, their families, and even their health disappear. People are suffering. The lives of small business owners and their employees are being shattered. These people need justice right now. Every day that passes, people are becoming more desperate, not as a result of a virus, but because of what their governor is doing. This court must step in. So as a consequence, we have found many things. I'm not going to get into too much of the technical details. But most Washingtonians do not know that there is a Patriot Act here in Washington that under the statute and not under the Constitution, the governor has the right to impose limited martial law, which he has done, which allows him to try people in military tribunals, to call out and to the organized National Guard or the organized militia, which he has done, and to suspend the writ of habeas corpus for those so detained. Now, all of those violate the Washington Constitution. The Constitution says the writ of habeas corpus shall never be suspended. Now, in addition to that, the governor's stay home, stay safe order affects a house arrest for all Washingtonians who are neither sick nor suspected of being sick, which also violates the Constitution. In fact, the governor's order is wholly violative of Article 1 of the Washington State Constitution. The Constitution under Article 2, Section 42 spells out the limits to emergency authority and specifies thou shalt not vitiate the other rights that are held sacred by Washingtonians. Now, I want to make this statement very clear because this is so important. We do not live in a constitutional state right now. We live in a tyranny by executive order. That is its current condition. And we are asking this court to restore the constitutional state and remove us from this anomaly.
Do the close. The prayer for relief is so magnificent how, that's very young there.
So what we're going to be asking the court for on this writ of mandamus is we have several things that we're going to be seeking from the court, but mandamus requires specificity. We have to ask the court to do exactly what we want them to do. And in the prayer for relief, we say this: petitioners gym owners, the guys who have been hammered, the guys who keep this state healthy. They've been hammered. Petitioners therefore seek the following relief: that this court should issue a writ of mandamus, which vacates the stay safe, stay home executive orders of Governor Jay Inslee, specifically orders 2025, 2025.1, 2025.2, and 2025.3, that would result in the governor having to act in accord with the Constitution and to seek and receive legislative approval through an open government legislative process for any further action. And we are asking the court to determine the constitutionality of the State's Patriot Act, RCW 3808, and RCW and a couple of other provisions in the law, and to strike them down that are unconstitutional and allow for this kind of tyrannical authority to exist at all.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
I was going to have some remarks. I just want to say again how lucky we are that Steve Pigeon is willing to take this thing on. He's a real hero. There are several lawsuits that are going on right now, and I want to kind of highlight how this one fits in with them. There is our first lawsuit, which is Everyone is Essential. And this is the... And the idea behind that one is it's filed in U.S. District Court in our federal court system. There's another lawsuit we filed called Open Schools, and this one is filed in Lewis County Superior Court, talking about our schools. This one is going directly to the state Supreme Court. So we're attacking on the right flank, we're attacking on the left flank, and we're going dead center right up the middle in order to be able to, yes. In order to give ourselves many opportunities for the judiciary to hold this executive accountable. Jay Inslee has cut out the legislature from the process. He's cut out the people. There's only one branch of government that's left to us, that's available to us, and that's the judiciary. So we are, of course, not putting all our eggs into one basket. We're seeking relief from the federal courts. We're asking from our county court in Lewis County, and now we're going directly to the Supreme Court. And we think that by doing it this way, we increase our likelihood of finally getting some justice in the state of Washington. And that's who we're going to talk about now. But I really think, these are extremely dark days we're in right now. I hear from people every day whose lives are getting destroyed by Inslee's lockdown. We now know and have 900,000 newly unemployed workers in our state. Business owners who have dedicated their lives to building up successful enterprises are watching their companies and their financial lives and their employees die right in front of them. They are heartsick with worry for their employees as well. And people all across Washington are literally crying themselves to sleep at night. And what does Inslee think about the devastation that he is causing? He thinks it's a great opportunity to push his climate agenda. Inslee was recently interviewed by Bernie Sanders. And here's what he said. This has always been an economic opportunity. We should not be intimidated by people who say we shouldn't use this COVID crisis to peddle a solution to climate change. We can use COVID as an excuse for action on climate change. They're both so similar based on the understanding of science.
What did he say?
It is infuriating. Our lives, our livelihoods, and our liberty are on the line, and here he is bragging that his lockdown makes it easier for him to impose his green schemes.
Inslee's a terrorist.
I am now going to introduce these small business owners that are going to speak for themselves, and they're going to talk about how Inslee's lockdown has violated their lives, their rights, their employees' lives, and their clients' lives. They all have one thing in common. They didn't donate to Jay Inslee. Special interests that contribute to Inslee are open for business and deemed essential. Regular citizens who didn't donate have been pegged as non-essential. And in the ultimate betrayal, as some of these desperate non-essentials fight to survive during his lockdown while Inslee's donors are given special treatment, Inslee says this about them: there's just no reason why certain people would think they're kind of special, and they have certain rights that other citizens do not. They think they're above the law, apparently. For some irresponsible business leaders to besmirch the ones that are responsible, that will not stand. They aren't special, Governor. They're regular citizens who have the same rights as your donors do. They aren't special, Governor. They're regular citizens who have the same rights as your donors do. I think we really need to emphasize that. If you gave money to Jay Inslee, this lockdown has not had any effect on you. But if you are a person that did not donate to Jay Inslee, you have been deemed non-essential, and if you stand up for yourselves, you will get essentially SWAT teams showing up at your business to shut you down. Bob Ferguson is doing the bidding of Jay Inslee because some business owners are standing up for themselves. And this is extremely frustrating to the government that you would have people defying him and not doing what he says, but all they're doing is recognizing the absurdity where you can walk into a 7-Eleven and be serviced. You can walk into a Lowe's. You can walk into a Costco, a Fred Meyer, but you can't actually go and exercise. It's nuts what this guy is doing. It is so insanely frustrating for these citizens, and I'm just so impressed that these gentlemen have the guts to be able to step forward. I do want to really emphasize this because I think it's really important. All business is essential to someone. Jay Inslee has basically said to us, all we can do is safety. We can't have liberty. We can't have a strong economy. We must give those up in order to be safe. And what I observe is he's failing on all three fronts. By shutting down our economy, we now have less money going into government coffers to actually take care of all of us. So we've sacrificed safety, we've sacrificed liberty, we've sacrificed a strong economy. And what is driving Jay Inslee? I am convinced that he's now realized he overreacted. I believe that Jay Inslee knows what he's done has gone too far, but he can't bring himself because of his own insecurity and his own inability to be able to just swallow his pride for a little bit and do what's good for all of us, because if he did what other states are doing, simply opening themselves back up and trusting the people, if he did that, everyone would know his mistake. This brief that is brilliantly written by Steve Pigeon, we're now going to hear from these business owners, and they speak not just for themselves, for business owners all across the state that are fighting for their right to survive. And all I want to emphasize over and over again is they have the same rights as Jay Inslee's donors do, and they have every right to be able to service their customers. So with that, I'll turn it over. What'd you guys decide? Rock, paper, scissors. We decided to go with him. This is Mike Jellison, and an amazing, heroic guy. Let's hear it for Mike. Love you, Mike. Well done.
Good afternoon. What I'd like to speak to you guys about is a story about triumph and tragedy. This has to do with my community and everybody in my community.
Louder!
When I first started off PA Fitness, it started off as Power Alley Fitness, a baseball club that actually surrounded our community and did 12 different baseball teams, junior teams, to actually help the community. We did that for some years and then accommodated the kids and continued to continue because of the love of our community in Snohomish County, Arlington, Washington, Marysville, Washington. At that point, around 2007, we decided to go into the fitness world because obviously the parents want to work out too when their kids are working out. So we did that, and we became a family at that point in time. PA Fitness has been through 3 different buildings over the last 20 years, but we've always stayed strong with our community. We've always had the same customers in and out, back and forth. The kids that we actually brought up from the beginning that we trained as baseball players now bring their kids in to the gym to enjoy what is there for our community. This has never been anything about money because PA Fitness doesn't make money. We haven't made money for years. We have other businesses that take care of that situation. We're a community gym. We're a place where people can go and get working out done. So,
You're good.
So, the details of what's happened to our facility in the recent past is we decided to go against the orders and reopen up. Unfortunately, we know in our hearts, we know with the law that his stay-at-home order is an order, it's not a law.
Exactly.
What happened next was a media onslaught that I wasn't really expecting. I'm not that type of guy. I'm not the guy that should be standing up here. But God chose me and I'm here.
Hallelujah.
Thank you.
Okay? I've got to speak out for all Washingtonians because people need to know this stuff. I'm standing up for your rights, for your rights, for your rights, and for your rights.
Yeah, thank you.
My family suffers through this. My family, my community suffers through this. We're all heartbroken with the ordeal that has been gone on. Getting back to the situation of the story of what went on in the last 10 days. We opened up with a bang. I let everybody know that we're opening up because if you're a small business, you want your customers to respect you. You don't want to open up the back door like a mouse and say, hey, come on in, and if they catch us, well, they're going to smash us and we'll close our doors. No. Stand up for your rights. Open the door and say, with a bullhorn, and say, come on in. I'm open. Everybody knows I'm open. Let's walk to the front door and be respected like respectable human beings. The first day, we got a letter from the governor. We had one guy complain. Beautiful. The second day, we got a letter from the city. Thank you, Barbara. The third day, we got a letter from the Snohomish County Health District. Great. You know what? They've never been in our facility before. I'm not sure exactly what we got a letter from them. That kind of perplexed me, but go with it. We continue to do what we do. We had people that came in and were so appreciative of what we did. They would come from North Bend. They would come from Bellingham. They would come all the way from, I believe the furthest one down was Centralia. So we had people coming from all over the place. Every one of them was respectful of the CDC guidelines that we put into place. Every one of them. Every one of them had their hospital-grade disinfectant bottle that was handed out to them on their side as if it was something that they were going to have to cherish like their baby for the rest of their lives. Did not want to let that go. Every one of them came into our facility, got temperature checked with infrared, and had no problems. 4,500 people with no problems. So in this instance, I started thinking, okay, well, we're looking for a unicorn. Didn't find it. Must be out there somewhere, so I started checking under people's hats. Didn't find it there either. I understand that this virus is contagious. I also understand CDC has its regulations that you have to follow. I also understand within the 7 weeks that we did our planning to do this, the state got handed down mandates from the federal government that stated fitness first. It is physically and mentally essential. Essential, people. In the 10 days that we were open, I had probably 500 people come up to me and explain to me that the tensions at their homes were getting so bad that if they didn't have this, they didn't know what was going to happen. People that work out need to work out. You can't cage people and tell them they can't. So I got in my little Cessna. Don't worry, it's only a little $18,000 plane. I'm not rich. I got on my Cessna, flew over Home Depot. To my surprise, on a Saturday, 1,500 people sitting down there, bumping and throwing manure around and everything. The facility that we opened up, and you can ask anybody that was there, was cleaner than a hospital. We cleaned that sucker once an hour. We wiped down everything once an hour. We bleached everything every night. We separated everything by 6 feet. We followed the guidelines to a T. We wanted to make this a mold so that we can get on with our lives. It doesn't matter what I believe in. It matters what everybody else believes in, and you got to respect everybody. Everybody's got the right to their own opinion. Me, you, everybody. This is America, and it needs to stay that way. We have a Constitution, and the Constitution needs to be followed. As A.G. Barr said. As Attorney General Barr said, the Constitution will not be put on suspension because of COVID-19. Ever. So, what happened next was something that we didn't expect. Lawsuit came. We read it, kind of looked at it, shrugged it off and said, my brother and I looked at it and said, oh, we got 20 days. Well, by that time, we'll have enough money for an attorney because we're getting a couple $1,000s a day. No big deal. We had Mr. Pigeon read it, and a little thing in there that came to light was they were trying to sue us for unfair business practices. This isn't about COVID. This isn't about the Constitution. This man will do whatever it takes to get his way. He needs to win at all costs. Now, I'm a math major, okay? Don't read too well, but I can utilize numbers pretty darn good. If the numbers you're getting from your particular people that are supposed to be your experts are wrong, then how does the formula work? It doesn't. The numbers that you're getting have to be right to be on the other side. These numbers need to be audited. 100%. So anyways, I got that, went ahead and had Stephen take a look at it, and he advised me that we needed to shut down right away because what Mr. Inslee had put in there, $2,000 a head that will be taken care of by the local government, Barbara again, at approximately 500 people a day. That's $1 million a day, people. I mean, I've got nerve, but I don't have that much nerve, okay? We have something else in store. We do have something else in store. That's on the business side. I'm passionate about my community. We keep this business open about my community. We had 5,000 people in the door that were appreciative about my community, that are fighting for this. I've worked in this industry since 1987. I've been proud to work in this industry. I opened up my businesses in 2000 because I thought I could make a difference in people's lives. This is what I wanted to do, make a difference in people's lives. He doesn't understand. Mr. Inslee doesn't understand. If you poke the bear, sooner or later you're going to get bit. It only takes one person to talk to two people. Two people talk to 5 people apiece. Next thing you know, you got 5 million people. 5 million people that understand and get it. If it has to be grassroots, it has to be grassroots. Now, on a physical note, a personal note, this has put a lot of stress on my family. Okay, I've got my daughter over here, Courtney, and my other daughter, Katie. They're both in college right now. It's put stress on my budget. It's put stress on my wife. We don't get paychecks. It's been 2 months, and the paycheck's not there. And that's not because of this situation. I've got another business that is deemed non-essential, even though we're supposed to be able to go out and sanitize fitness facilities. Well, gee, let me think. Sanitizing fitness facilities right now, where the facilities are closed, seems to be a no-contact sport. We went through the porthole of the state, and non-essential. How are we non-essential if there is no contact? How are we non-essential if all the apartments, facilities of fitness are closed and there's no contact? How are we non-essential if all the fitness facilities, all the rehab facilities that are closed, how are we non-essential? But there's an exception. It's a game of pick and choose. We're essential for police, for fire, for medical, for military. We're essential for all those. All he has to do is push a button and turn it and say, oh, you're essential. I had to lay off. I had to lay off 20 people. Those 20 people, 10 of them came back to PA Fitness for those 10 days. And I saw it in their eyes. It was the best time of their life. I saw it in my eyes. I found the passion again. The passion to want to succeed. I fight because they fought for me. They were there. My people were there. Our people were there. We've got to open our eyes, people. The communities, the state, a lot of people are suffering. We need to figure this out. It's our Constitution. The governor has already chose that he is going to take what you'll give him. I feel sorry for Bob Martin over in Snohomish. He's a good man. I know Bob. He's a veteran. He did his time. And what's the state have to say about it? We're going to take you, and we're going to take you for everything you got. Does everybody know that he was paying his rent with his Social Security because they shut him down? His Social Security. Is that the way we're going to treat veterans? Come on. We're better than this. Americans, Washingtonians, we've got to stand up. We've got to have a voice. If we don't, we will surely lose the war. It's our Constitution. It's up to you guys to decide, do you want to keep it or do you want to let it go? Because big government is on the prowl and they want to take it from us. Thank you very much.
Oh, love you, Mike. Love you, Mike. Love you guys.
One, I just wanted to tell my story about why we opened our gym, the lives that we've touched, and the employees that we employ, and how it's impacted everybody on a very personal level. My name is Zach Miller. I started this business when I was 23 years old. After getting out of the Marine Corps, and I grew up with a father who was extremely unhealthy, and I watched all of the type 2 diabetes and other problems that man had growing up. And I wanted to inspire and motivate other people to not have to go down that painful road with all these medical conditions that through physical exercise, in many cases, can be averted. And through that last 10 years of operating these studios, we've helped cancer patients. We've helped people with knee replacements, hip replacements. We've had numerous clients come off of hypertension medication, metformin, which is a type 2 diabetes drug. I've seen all of these people transform their lives into somebody when they first walked in the door, wearing 5 sweaters, looking at the floor, just self-conscious of everything that's going on, to a year or two later, 50 pounds lighter, walking around in form-fitting clothes, happy with who they are and healthier about their future. Yeah. These facilities are the grounds for so many people to turn their life around for a positive. And now you have closed their sanctuary for physical and mental health in a one-size-fits-all policy. We have reached out. Gym owners have written letters. We've submitted petitions. We've submitted videos about how we can safely open our facilities and meet or exceed the CDC guidelines. Department of Health, not responded to us. Attorney General, not responded to us. The governor, not responded to us. For 2 months, we have been trying to work with you, and you have said, sorry, closed. What else are we to do but stand on your steps? There is no other option at this point. You are not working with us under any circumstances, so we have to make our voice heard in this manner. For us, this is not political. This is simply survival. That's all this is. I've voted once in my adult life. I could care less about politics. But when I saved, I started working full-time when I was 13 years old. I did furniture delivery, did farm work, worked in a beef slaughterhouse when I was 17, went in the Marine Corps. I've never been unemployed for a day in my life. I took all of the savings from all of that, and I opened my first gym at 23. Now I own 3. And now I've been able to help thousands of people live healthier lives. And in 2 months, he's threatened all of that. And I just have a very simple message. You're not willing to work with us, even though we can meet or exceed your safety guidelines, and you let our businesses not have the ability to bring in revenue. But there has not been one piece of legislation whatsoever that has abdicated us from our legal responsibilities to pay rent, utilities, insurance. We have no way to bring in income, but we are legally obligated to pay all the bills for a business that is dead. In addition, we're paying for state business licenses that the state will not let us use.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Every year we pay our state business license, and we're shut down if this doesn't change for over 90 days. Still paying for the business license. And I want these facilities to be open, mostly for our customers, because they're the ones that want to come there and live happier, healthy lives. Get in that motivated environment that helps them turn that corner and make that change. You never know what it is that's going to change somebody's life, but I've seen fitness change a lot of people's lives for the better, and I don't want to close that to those people, as it is a vital and essential part of their life that helps so many people become healthier. And we have no other option other than to file a lawsuit at this point, because we have reached out over the last 2 months and have heard absolutely nothing from anybody in the government. And like I said, I'm not political. If you lift this order, I'll be gone tomorrow. I don't care. I just want to go back to doing business and helping people, which is the reason that I got into this business in the first place. And so I also have another story from a gentleman over in Spokane. He couldn't be here because he has a 1-month-old at home, but I'm going to pull out my phone now and read the statement that he sent us, because I think this needs to be heard. And it's unbelievable what's happened to this gentleman under this order. And so his name is Jonathan. He couldn't be here today, so I'm going to read this on his behalf. He's a business over in the Spokane area. Give me 1 second. That's great. I'm glad you're doing that.
Thank you, Marine.
Thank you. Okay, so Jonathan over in Spokane has a business that he's been working on with his wife for several years now. They work with several hundred bars and restaurants. They also do wedding services, all of which have been shut down, and he has been put under phase 4. During this, he also applied for the EDIL loan from the SBA. He was forwarded $8,000 only to receive a letter saying that he does not qualify because his damages are not as extensive to qualify for the loan, so he is being asked to reimburse the SBA for that $8,000 grant. He has also been denied unemployment from Washington State Unemployment Services because he is a corporation. He's a small business owner. He also has a 1-month-old baby at home right now. He has no income. He pays his own health insurance. He's not qualified for unemployment. And he got told by the SBA that he has to return the EDIL grant that he was given. This is insane. All of this help that is supposed to be out there, we now see that it is not necessarily getting to the people that it is supposed to. I mean, this man just wants to run his business. He's not eligible for unemployment, and he's being asked to pay back the money that was supposed to be helping the very businesses like his. Where is his relief? Where? Where does he go now? I'm sorry he couldn't be here to read that, but I felt that's a story that had to be told about the absolute damage that's being created. And this is destroying American dreams that have taken years. I mean, you don't just start a business on a Wednesday. It takes years of planning and saving and sacrifice before you ever even open your doors simply to have them shut. And now I'm going to pass that on to Jeff, and he's going to speak about his businesses.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name's Jeff Nelson. I'm the owner of Body Shop Fitness. We're actually a pretty new gym up in the Bothell area. I don't have the extensive I don't have the extensive experience that's the gentleman behind me have. I've only been open for 4 months prior to being shut down. So we opened back in November, closed on March 16th. My story is that I was in the military for 8 years, got out. Went to school, tried to do the corporate life, but that wasn't for me. I like being physical. I like helping people, and sitting behind a desk wasn't my thing. So I said, you know what? There's a better way to do this. I sold my house. I liquidated my 401k, went all in on my business, and it's been the best thing I've ever done. So from day one, I've had hundreds of people come to my facility, adding value to their lives every day, and it's been the best thing that ever happened to me, man. God, I'm sorry. This is harder than I thought it would be. So it took me about 2 years to get my gym open. You know, the process to open a gym is not a fast one. From waiting for permits to organizing construction, all that, by the time I finally got my doors open, I was living off of savings, and the response from my community has been great. I opened a unique facility that adds value to people's lives in a way that hasn't existed in Western Washington. And that's all any business owner can ask. That's the reason you open a business. You want to make people's lives better. You want to solve problems for them. And to have that taken away after 4 months and having people bang my door down every single day asking me when I can open and how their lives are worse off because I can't open, man, that sucks. Like that's the worst thing, that's the worst feeling. So, I'm in the fitness industry. We're all in the fitness industry, but I'm up here speaking on behalf of literally thousands of business owners that are all in the same boat today. Anybody who's been deemed non-essential, man, their business is essential to them, and it's essential to their customers. It's part of their lives. It's part of how they live their life, and to be shut down on an arbitrary rule that has no basis other than for the safety. Someone deemed it's in order to be safe, and someone taking that decision out of your hands. That doesn't sound like freedom to me, man. And that's pretty important to me. That's pretty important to Zach. It's pretty important to Mike. Freedom is what allows us to live our lives. That's what makes America diverse.
Exactly. You fought for our country.
So,
Guy right here.
When I was driving down here, I drove down here from Bothell. I think I passed 7 of those big signs over the freeway that said "Stay at home is saving lives." keep it up, Washington. Stay at home is destroying lives, and I say we stand up, Washington. All right. So I appreciate y'all coming out to hear our stories, and thank you, Steve, for helping us submit this lawsuit, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Well, I wanted to close with a couple of remarks here because I really am moved, and I have been moved by the declarations that we have received behind this complaint of the kind of suffering and the kind of destruction that the stay-home order has wreaked on Washingtonians. It's just amazing, the tens of thousands that are newly unemployed. And of course, you know, I think a big part of the problem here is that when this stay lifts, the stay on evictions and the stay on home foreclosures will lift with it. And when that happens, you're going to see a homeless population that is consistent with the homeless population that they're now experiencing in Oregon, where every street is clustered with tents. The homeless population has more than quadrupled, and the governor is now seeking to spend $5 billion in emergency funding to deal with a homeless crisis they created. Now,
it will all be dependent on him.
Now, I want to make this clear. Governor Inslee declared an emergency in this state when there were 66 suspected cases of COVID virus nationwide and 2 deaths in Washington that were presumed to be COVID. 2 deaths that were presumed to be COVID. Now you see that their surveillance team is moving in. They'll be taking, facial recognition photographs as part of the dossier that's being amassed by the Politburo that is hanging out here in the Capitol. Now, I want to say this. There was no emergency at the time he declared an emergency. He was the first in the nation to declare a COVID death presumed to be COVID, and was an initiator of this gigantic fire in the theater panic that we've had going on in the nation. Now, I'm just going to say this to Governor Inslee. The world is never going to forget what you did. History will always record Inslee as the one who initiated a panic that has cost the world $23 trillion. He has systematically shut down the economies of the United States and of Europe and of India, bankrupted economies in Africa, closed economies in Latin America, all because he wanted to scream fire in a crowded theater, based on presumed COVID deaths. Presumed. Now, this curve that he kept saying we had to flatten has since been flattened. The reason the emergency was needed was because hospitals were going to be overwhelmed with what was coming in. Now we see the hospitals are not only underwhelmed, they're having to lay off personnel because he has suspended elective procedures in the hospitals, from which people are dying in this state. So Mr. Inslee, I'm just going to say this. Mr. Inslee will forever, historically, be hung with this responsibility. Now, there are 2 courses of action before us here in Washington. One is to allow this to continue. I'm sorry, I'm going to speak louder than your chopper blades, okay?
That's all good.
Pardon my speaking while you're interrupting.
Let's let him hear us.
Here's the truth. Mr. Inslee's lockdown, which he said is going to continue until there's a cure. How many people, when would we cure the common cold? Anybody got an idea? Oh, that never happened, did it? We're going to continue until there's a cure. If we do that, this state is going to be economically totally destroyed and completely conformed to something that is non-recognizable. The other course of action is that this Supreme Court restores the Constitution by taking down this stay home, stay safe order. We deal with what we have right now, and we begin to clean up the mess. And with that, I'm going to file the case right now. Gentlemen.
There
Press to send.
What they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and send by email directly to the Supreme Court the brief that they put together. They're all going to hit the button together, and it's going to go straight to the Supreme Court.
Ready, hands up. Ready, stand.
Show us.
Questions? Yeah.
Are there any questions?
Anybody? Are we good?
Do we have any questions?
Matt? Yeah, go ahead. Essex, go for it.
Can you yell?
First, I missed a little bit of this. Looking for Mike Graham Fitness.
No, Mike is not here from that
Oh,
fitness.
sorry.
No. Mike Baker from Graham Fitness.
Mike, join us.
It's Baker, right?
Right here.
Oh, thank you.
I'm down in Graham, South Puyallup.
Graham Sepp. So very good. We're going to turn it over to him. He had kind of a SWAT team show up, so let's hear from him for a second. Mike?
I really didn't want to get on the public display here. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I want to live my life. I want the freedom to live my life. The Constitution are God-given rights, not government-given rights. This is unacceptable behavior by our government, and it's an overstep. This is disgusting, and it's a disgrace for all the men who serve this country. How much blood was shed? What do we got to do to get through to Inslee and anyone else that wants to trample on our rights? Wake up, people. Please wake up. This is sick. We're going to look back on this for a long time. Think about it. These guys put their life on the line for what? For what? This is a sick and gross display of power and control, and he doesn't want to give it up. He couldn't be the president, so now he's going to be our president. This is sick. Thank God. Thank you, Lord in heaven, for blessing these people that had the heart to open their business and stand up to this sick display of power. I don't want to do this anymore. Open your doors, people. What are they going to do if we all stand up? That's right. This isn't going to get put on air. This isn't going to be allowed by the media. I'm sorry. This isn't the popular opinion. This isn't going to make the cut. Doesn't fit the narrative. But, we need to stand together in these times, guys. You're going to lose everything, okay? I don't want to be a slave. I'm sorry, okay? I've been a tax slave long enough. They give us just enough to stay quiet. You guys take your free checks and sit on your butts and let us tell you how to be safe.
Mike, can you tell us what happened? What happened to you? Because they may not know. Just 1 second. He's going to tell us what actually happened.
Like, ask me a question. What do you mean? Like,
Good.
Tell us what
my name's Michael Nick.
Nick.
Yeah.
Would you tell us what happened at your gym? Also tell us why you're opening and if you're afraid of any legal repercussions.
I'm terrified for my life. I'm terrified for my wife, my kids. I'm terrified. But I can't sit back any longer. It's never going to end. They've put a they put a marker up so high nobody can jump and reach it. What is this for? To prove a climate change agenda? When is the climate not changing? Give me a break, okay?
What happened at your business?
Yeah, tell us what actually happened.
Well, we got shut down and forced to not have any liberty anymore. We got forced to be silent and get in a cage. What do you do to prisoners who mess up? You put them in solitary confinement. Guess what? Our whole nation just got put in solitary confinement. And it's absurd.
They got released.
Okay? Yeah, you let the prisoners out and you put business owners in.
Did armed officers come? Was there, a group of police officers, whoever who came and just...
I think you're
Everyone-
misunderstanding. Mike Jellison was one PA Fitness that had that happen.
PA Fitness, yeah. PA Fitness had those things happen. I've had nothing but support from law enforcement. Stand up for your rights are the only things I've heard in my community. And thank God you're doing this. That's the only message I've had. I've had one negative phone call from a supporter of the other side, and I get it. I understand when you're fed all that information your whole life, God bless her, But when you're on my side of things, and my parents who opened this company 20 years ago, 10 days before 9/11, okay, and we got through that. And then, bankers crashed everything again 2008. We got through that. And now they're just forcing us to shut down, even though we got to pay our licenses. This is what I can't believe this Where am I? Is this communist China? I thought this was the United States of America. Or is it the USSA? Is that where we're at? Are we in the USSA now? This is sick. It's gross. I'm disgusted. I got the media outside my club now. This isn't what I wanted. I don't want any attention. I don't want to be Inslee's next target. You know, he's sitting there comfortable on his, $10,000 couch like, screw this guy's life up. They're talking bad about us. Screw this guy's life up. Screw his life up. Screw your life up. And anyone that stands up to our regime, we're going to ruin them. This is sick. If the Founding Fathers came back to life today, they'd be like, why do you think you have the Second Amendment right, folks? Why do you think? You have freedom of speech, then you have the right to defend it. Like, there's a reason that all happened. There's a reason they set this thing up so government could never be in control of the people. Governments become corrupt. Look through history. Read the Bible, for goodness sake. What happens to kings? What happens to these rulers and tyrants? You give someone enough power and enough control, they're going to destroy everything. We're not made. No one man is made to have control over people. In my opinion, and everyone, I respect your opinions, let God be in control of this country again, please. Please. There's no harm in reading the Bible in school. I get it. I understand. I don't want to force anyone into any religion. But teaching people morals and ethics, nothing wrong with that in my book. I'm sorry. And I respect everyone that comes into my club. No matter what their background, no matter what they believe, I love those people. That's what I'm called to do. Okay? I just want to feed my family. I just want to pay my mortgage. I'm not trying to get rich. I'm not trying to take over the world. I just want to have fun in my community, live a good life, be a good person, and help people. Is that too much to ask?
Really?
I couldn't not come down here and stand up for myself. I didn't want to do this. I don't have the guts that these guys have. I didn't have the courage to serve our country and put my life on the line. I didn't have the courage. I'm sorry. I'm not that guy.
Sir, and last name spelled N-I-C-K?
Baker. Michael Baker.
I'm the owner of Graham Fitness. If you want to find out who I am, it's out there.
I'm just trying to get you the last name spelled right. Would you tell me, sir?
Baker.
My last name is Nick,
N-I-C-K.
like the New York Knicks.
Thank you very much. Jim, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Let him go back.
God bless America. Let me have my life back.
So what was the question, Essex? 1 second.
A question for you. If you are successful in being elected governor, you will take office just as the second wave of this virus is coming. Will you be willing to shut down businesses
Let him finish.
to protect the health of the people of the state?
I think we've already seen that other states like South Dakota, like Colorado, the governor of Colorado specifically said, we're opening up our state and we're counting on personal responsibility from citizens. They find that it's actually worked out better. It is very clear that in January, if I'm governor, I'm going to have my hands full cleaning up the mess that Jay Inslee just made over the previous 6. And I really think it's frustrating that so many people in the media will not ask Jay Inslee the very simple question is, you're saying it's heartless for these people to provide for their families. You're willing to insult regular citizens, yet you think it's perfectly fine that the tribes open up all the casinos. You're perfectly fine with Lowe's and the big corporations serving people, but small business owners are somehow heartless if they are just trying to survive and be able to provide for their families. I find it so insulting that his priority is actually going after these guys. And the greatest frustration I have, and I can't help but talk about this, we hear it all the time. We do not have the resources to do anything about crime on the streets. We have no resources to be able to take care of the homeless. We have no resources to take care of illegal immigration. Yet we've got overall law enforcement on all levels showing up daily at every one of their houses, all their businesses. I am extremely frustrated that that's where they're going to put the priority of law enforcement, is going after these guys instead of the actual problems we have in this state. To answer your question directly, there is no way under any circumstances, I would shut down a state. I would not force people to stay in their homes. I would ask them. I would persuade them. I would encourage them. I would do what other states have done and allow people the personal responsibility to be able to do it. You can't have one person telling 7 million people how to live their lives. You just can't do it. And there's just one more point I want to make, is that there is simply no reason, if Steve is successful with this lawsuit, it doesn't mean we just open back up again. We go back to a representative republic where if they want to put limitations on us, do it through open government. Have hearings, let citizens speak, allow them to pass laws in the House and the Senate, and a governor signs it into law. Doing it unilaterally, you get this goofy, stupid system where he says fishing in the middle of a lake is somehow dangerous if you have a hook in the water, but it's not safe if you actually, or it is safe for you to be able to just sit in the boat without a hook in the water. That idiocy is because he's deciding for himself, for everybody. A public hearing, you'd never get away with that kind of crap. But because he's not really that bright, that's the basic ideas that he's coming up with on his own. And representative democracy is citizens having a voice in their government. And right now we have one person deciding for 7 million people. I'd rather have one person trusting 7 million people. Matt, and who do you want? Steve, go for it. Yes, they are.
Can any of these lawsuits be heard prior to July when all the phases start relaxing a little bit?
Yeah, he's asking the question, can these lawsuits be heard before July? Now, you know, there's a lot of emergency orders that are affecting the courthouses right now. For instance, the doors to the temple here are closed and locked. And so there are a lot of guidelines that are in place. However, in the particular case of asking for a writ of mandamus, we've been at these courthouse steps before seeking this same remedy, not as well prepared, and with not as strong an argument. Now the argument is very concise and it's very strong, and it depends on what the justices want to do. You know, and this is what's so important about this, and this is why this is all persuasion. It's all persuasion. The truth is that this is really the last opportunity for this judiciary to act to preserve this constitutional state. This is really it. These are wholly state issues, and we didn't bother with the superior courts because there's no issues of law. It's all issues of fact. It's predicated upon the governor's orders, his executive orders, particularly the COVID-19 orders. So the court knows what they are. The court can look at it and they can say either it's constitutional or it's unconstitutional. And if it's unconstitutional and he's exceeding his authority, then the court has the right to issue a writ of mandamus and just say, thou shalt not. Now go do your duty. You took an oath to defend the Constitution. Go do your duty.
Oh, yeah. It's up to them.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, listen, I have confidence in the court right now. And I have confidence in the court because of what the court recently did to stop Inslee from emptying the prisons and putting murderers back on the street. I don't know who came up with that idea, but I think it was Xi Jinping, quite frankly. But at any rate, this court, 5-4, voted and said, nope, you're not doing that. This court is moving. This court is neither liberal nor conservative. The court is objective, and it has the opportunity. And the critical thing here is this. Look, under these contact tracers, which are up there in that helicopter right now, threatening to take your children and put them in an internment camp, the concentration camps, which Jay Inslee's already building around the state. We know that, the detention facilities, we know that. And there's contact tracers. I mean, I got a tip for the contact tracers. I think Inslee has a fever. All right, start there. Or if you really want to trace contacts, start with the 850 tainted testing swabs that came in from the CDC. Why don't you trace those for a minute? But in the meantime, all these threats of, we're going to take your children away, we're going to put you in an internment camp, we're going to do this. Let me just say this to the Supreme Court. If you don't defend our Constitution now, what prevents him from walking in the door and saying, Mrs. Chief Justice, you have a fever?
It's getting frightening.
The time to act is now. The exigent circumstances are before us, and the tenor of this state and its temperature, and believe me, the state has a fever. And that fever needs a prescription, and that prescription is more cowbell. I'm just kidding. No, what I'm saying is this. The court has the opportunity. The court is not ignorant. The court knows what the temperature of the state is. The court knows the trepidation among the people. The court can see the unemployment numbers. The court can see the eventual destruction of landlords and of tenant housing and commercial real estate, which is now vacant, right? You're talking a substantial, substantive economic crash. The court is well aware of that. Are they aware of it enough to consider this writ of mandamus to be under exigent circumstances? I think the answer is yes, and I think we're going to have a decision very quickly as to whether or not the court is going to accept the writ. If the court accepts the writ, that's the first question. If they accept the writ, then we will be asking for an emergency hearing on the merits to see if we can get the court to promptly consider what is happening. And if the court does, and I can tell you if the court does accept this writ, the Constitution is very clear, and Jay Inslee is very outside of it.
Steve made the point that I really wanted to make as well, is that justices are politicians too. They're on the ballot. Quite a few of them are on the ballot this November. They're watching what's happening. They're paying attention to what's going on, all the suffering that's going on. They know the legislature is powerless to do anything about it. They know he's not moving as far as, from rallies. The lawsuit, the judiciary, is really the citizens' only chance, and these justices know it. It is on them. We have the federal courts, we have the state courts, and we have this lawsuit with the Supreme Court. All of them know that the other ones are looking at this thing. We need justice, and justice delayed is justice denied. We need a decision now, not later, because every day that goes by, more people are like these heroic gentlemen that are suffering. Their clients are suffering. Their employees are suffering. We need relief and justice now, and that's what this lawsuit gives us the opportunity to do. So, love you guys. Any other questions?
We're all good.
We never quarantine the healthy.
Mike, yeah, you go. Finish it out.
I've never seen anything like this before, and as the numbers are coming back, and if you were to count all the healthy people, those of us who have had it, haven't felt a symptom or anything, and yet we're doubling down on this, and it just doesn't even make sense. It's ridiculous.
Mr. Inslee, Mr. Ferguson, Ms. Holbert, shout out to our little Arlington lovely out there. Use this as a template. I showed that this can work. Use me as a template, not a target. Please. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming out. Talk amongst yourselves. Really appreciate you coming out. This lawsuit, I think, is a tremendous opportunity for us, and it would not happen if not for these heroic gentlemen. So let's hear for them.